So, as I said, work on expanding brackets first. Then we get to a point where it gets a little bit more complex and you have to expand and then simplify and collect like terms together. This probably is something you've all done before. Do you all remember doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it probably will come quite easily. Right? So don't get overly sure of yourself and think, oh, I don't need to worry about this. Make sure, because there are certain things that could catch you out. Right? But let's have a quick look at expanding brackets. But what I need you to think about as well is when you expand brackets, what are you actually doing and why would you need to do it? Okay. So, for instance, let's take this situation. So what if I write that expression, so that's a mathematical expression, what does that expression tell you you have to do? Because obviously the written maths using algebra is a language. It tells you what to do when you have the numbers. As soon as we've got an x, it means what? That we don't know the number, right? So this expression tells you what to do when you do know the number you want to use, right? So what does that expression tell you to do? You had your hand up.
This expression tells me to multiply.
I need a bit more specifics.
To multiply to this what's in brackets.
I need more specifics. Ollie,
You need to times the x plus 4 by 2.
can you give me a sentence like as you were talking about Hannah?
You have to start by doing what's inside the bracket, so x add 4,
Yeah.
and when you get your answer to x add 4, you need to times that by 2.
Okay, good. So this bit in the brackets you have to do first. You have to take a number, add 4 to it. Whatever the answer you get, you then multiply that by 2. That's quite important that you are able to read it like that. Okay, you have
Aren't you just able to multiply the outside number by the first number in the brackets and then the outside number by
but what you're
last
doing
number?
is what we're going to do next. What I'm asking you is, can you understand what that's telling you in the first place? So it's very different to 2x plus 4, isn't it? That one and that one are not the same thing.
No.
Because what do you do with this one? How would I read that one? If that is have a number, add 4 to it, and then multiply the answer by 2, what would this one be as a sentence? Read it. Ollie?
Would it be 2 bracket x plus 2?
Now I'm not asking you to change it. I'm just read that to me. Right. What am I asking you? So if I say right x, I'm going to give you a number for x. What would you do with x?
You times it by 2, and after you get that answer, you add 4.
Okay, so that's the difference, isn't it? This one, 2x plus 4, here, you take your number that I give you, you times it by 2 first, and then you add 4. This one, you have to add 4 first, and then times it by 2. Now, a lot of people, when they start, would say, well, that's the same thing. But you would tell, it's not, right? Anyone know why it's not the same thing?
The first one is multiply. I'm just thinking about it.
But why would that make things different? This is quite important to understand the multiply. Carmen?
Usually do know the value of x.
But if I told you x for both of them, why is it not the same to do add 4 then times 2 and times 2 then add? If you do the same thing, why do you get different answers even though you should put them in a different order? Yeah?
You haven't times the 4 by 2 in this one.
Okay, good. So on this one, you don't multiply the 4 by 2. Well, this one, you are multiplying the 4 by 2. So we can, however, put this one in this form by doing that. So we can multiply the x by the 2, but don't forget we also have to multiply the 4 by the 2. So we have this situation where we do 2 times the x gives you 2 of the x's, but then we also have 2 of the 4's, so I've got add on 8. So this is the expanded form of that. So you can now see that they are not the same. Okay. And it's very important. Now this is where lots of people make mistakes, and I guarantee in a test at least one or two of you, unless you've all worked really hard and you're all paying full attention, even if you've worked really hard, if you have a slight slip up of attention in a test, you'll forget to multiply the 4. Everyone remembers to do the 2x and then they just write plus 4. Right, so there's a warning for you, there's a tip. You have to be concentrated. Okay? So that is called expanding bracket, also called multiplying out brackets. So we can do it with other situations. So let's go 3 times a minus 4. I want to expand that one. Alex, what do you reckon?
3 multiplied by a.
3 multiplied by a is
3a.
3a. This is actually a little bit
3 multiplied by 4
right.
is 12.
Is 12. And what goes in the middle?
I don't know in English what it's called.
What's it in French?
Moins.
Okay. And in English, everyone?
Minus.
Minus. There you go.
Spicy, but
Right, so 3a minus 12, because we have a subtraction there. Okay. What about this situation? Negative 4 times 5 subtract g. Now this one tends to cause people problems. Ilya.
Yes. It's gonna be minus 4 times 5 and then minus 4 times 9. Right?
That's a g, not a
Oh, a G.
Go on then, what's the answer?
Minus 20 minus 4G. Minus
Christy.
Plus 4G.
Plus
Minus na minus
4g.
точнее.
Why? Christy.
Minus times minus equals.
Minus times a minus gives you a positive result. Okay? Right, just to say, right, because you will see this happen and I don't want it to confuse you, when you've got negative 20 plus 4g, that can be written in a different way. Anyone know why? George?
4g minus 20.
Okay, 4g minus 20. Now that's just a bit of a less messy way of writing it. So some people then do the swap round. It's not different in any way. Okay. If it's a negative number, the negative has to go in front. If it's a positive, it doesn't if it's the first thing. Okay, simple as that. So that and that are the same thing. Okay. But what about something like this? Hannah, bring you back in the room and answer a question.
It's x times y, so xy
XY,
add xz.
add XZ. Okay? Simple as that, so you don't forget. One final one before I let you get on. Negative 2 times 3x minus 4y plus 2z. Eagle.
Minus 3 minus 6x plus 8y minus 4z.
Cool. Good. Well done. So just you've got 3 things in the brackets, that's fine. Now, as yet we haven't done any collecting of like terms, there's no need. But what I'm going to ask you to do, okay, is I'm going to ask you now, if you're looking at exercise 11a, I would like you please to do questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but I'm going to ask you to do questions 1, 2 and 3. I want you to do just the final row, so D and H for each one. So question 1, D and H, question 2, D and H, and 3, D and H. Question 4, I want you to do all of it. And then 5, 6 and 7 you can just do D and H as well. Okay? Shouldn't take you very long. Next thing then, well, first thing, let's just check a couple of things. So a question such as y times y plus 4. Okay, so some of you made a slight error. I think you just kind of, because it's taken out of context, you forgot. But this would be y times y. Now you could write y, but we don't do that. Plus 4y. Now y is actually written as
Y squared.
y squared plus 4y. Okay, and in the same y, that if y is multiplied by something like 3y, okay, it would be 3y squared plus 2y. Okay, and another one, if you were to have 3x times 2x plus 4, for instance, any idea what you think this one would end up being? Farida? 6x squared plus 12x. Good. Okay. Right. So there are just a couple of things. So that raising things to powers, I'm sure it was all fine for you, just sort of didn't think it was coming. Right, the next part of our objective was simplify and collect like terms, and the reason when this comes is when you have two sets of brackets. So for instance, if we have 3 times x plus 2 plus 5 times x minus 4, for instance. Okay, so we've actually got two sets of brackets, we've got two different expansions to do. Alright, now actually the brackets themselves not a problem, same thing as before. So we have 3 times x is 3x plus 6 plus 5x. Then even though that's a plus, this has to be minus 20. Now, when I said about collecting like terms, currently in this expansion that I've done the expansion, I have 4 terms, 4 individual terms to the thing. Now a term is what's separated by a positive or a negative, a plus or a minus. Okay. The thing is though, how many different types of term are there?
2.
2. So I've got one type that has got x's in, so I've probably just hidden that, but and then I've got one without. So what I have to do is collect the like terms. Now just to say, the way to remember what you do is the term goes together with the sign in front of it. That's important. So if there's not one there, we can put it in. Right? So they stick together. Right? So that's important. So this becomes, Nico?
8x minus 14.
8x minus 40. Okay. Right.
So, Mr. Potts,
Yeah.
why do terms even matter?
Yeah, I wrote this. What do you mean, why do terms matter?
Like, you don't really refer to them, or like, you don't really use them.
What do you mean I don't use terms?
I don't know, you don't
Like
really...
in real life,
In real life, you don't never.
when we're older.
No, I mean like, even just this, you don't really need the terms.
The separate terms here,
No,
or the word
The
term. I don't
the
need to call
subjects.
them terms.
Like this subject.
yeah, I don't really understand why we should know, like,
Just
I don't know,
just
sorry,
it
I'm not
means
making
why
any
do we
sense.
need to learn this? How is
No,
it
I don't
useful?
think he is saying why do we need to learn that. That's a normal question. That's just completely void, because why do you need to learn it? Because you never know what you want to do in the future. You might need it. You don't know at the time. When I was your age, the one thing I wasn't going to be was a teacher. Definitely. Why? Well, these terms are the result of an expansion. Right? I have to get to that point to get to that point. I'm simplifying. Okay, that's what this is all about. You're making your maths simpler before you do something else. So as you get further on into maths, there will be lots of things, like let's for instance, you have to work out the volume of a complex shape. So there's an IGCSE question with a shape that looks like it's a weight, and it's got a cone, and it's got a bit underneath like that, and then it's got a thing underneath like that. So a shape, which people have to make out of lead or whatever, fishing weights. Now, if I wanted to work out the total volume of that, I have to do it all in 3 separate bits, then collect them. Now, they will have like terms like the radius, the height, and I have to collect them to make it simpler. Otherwise, I'm going to have always 3 different bits, and it's harder to work with.
So it's like splitting things down.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wait, where's the pot? For this question, when you have when you've done the 2 separate things, so when you've done 3 brackets x adds 2,
Yeah.
do you then add them together, or do you leave them like that?
Now, what I've done there is I've done 3x, add 2, so it becomes plus 6, and then it's really the plus 5 gets multiplied by the x to make plus 5x, plus 5 gets multiplied by the minus 4 to make the minus 20.
And then 8x minus 14 is that?
Yeah, 8 is this line then simplified. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the next one is where everyone makes the mistakes. Okay. So be aware. So if we have something like 4x plus 2 minus 3 times 4 minus 2x. Okay. Now this is harder because people don't pay attention to the negative in the middle. Go on then, Nico, what do you reckon?
4x
4x
plus 8
plus 8, okay.
minus 12
Minus 12
plus 6x.
plus 6x. So you've done it fine. Lots of people, what they do is they do 3 times 4 is 12 and 3 times 2 is minus 2 is minus 6, and then they just put the minus in the middle. Now that's not true. So what you have to do is take that as one thing and do the multiplying and then write them out. Okay? So remember what I said, that the sign in front of the term should stay with the term. Again, when I simplify them, collecting like terms, I've got my x terms and the sign goes with it. And then I've got my numerical terms to go together. So the simplified collected like terms would be, Sophie?
4x and 6x.
Make 10x.
And 8 and 12. 8 minus 10.
Makes
Negative
-4.
4.
Well done. So all of this simplifies down to 10x minus 4. But to go back to your other statement, Ewan, your question about why it matters, actually what comes next is being able to go back to this to cancel out terms, which is very useful. Alright? Okay.